Welcome to today's video on navigating requests for evidence in marriage-based immigration when the prior divorce decree isn't signed by a judge. We will explore why this conflict happens, how state authority and federal policy collide, and exactly how to build a winning response that proves your prior marriage was legally terminated. We will also cover key documents, timelines, and practical steps, then test your understanding with a short quiz. Let's get started. At a high level, this issue arises because a state may delegate judicial powers to non-judge officers for uncontested cases, while federal adjudicators expect clear, explicit proof of finality and authority in the documents presented. This is not a challenge to the validity of state law, but rather to the clarity and completeness of the evidence submitted. We'll break down the federal perspective, the state procedures, and then show how to bridge the gap with a thorough, layered response. Here is our roadmap. First, we'll describe the core conflict. Next, we'll explain why RFEs occur. Then we'll detail a layered response strategy. After that, we'll go through a practical checklist. We will reinforce learning with diagrams, test your understanding with a quiz, then close with key takeaways and a call to action. Before we proceed, please note this is general information for educational purposes and not legal advice. Your situation may require tailored guidance. Always verify requirements on official USCIS and state court websites, and consider consulting licensed counsel for your case. Let's clarify the core conflict. In many states, uncontested divorces can be finalized by a special referee, magistrate, or similar officer. State law can delegate authority for these judgments. However, federal adjudicators often expect unambiguous evidence that the decree is final and that the signer had legal authority to enter the judgment. When the decree's face does not clearly prove both finality and authority, the case may trigger an RFE. This is about evidence clarity rather than challenging state law's validity. The flowchart shows how a decree leads to federal review, possibly an RFE, and then a successful outcome once layered evidence is submitted. RFEs commonly arise when a decree lacks a judge's signature, the signer's role is not obvious, or the document does not state finality clearly. Federal adjudicators need to see both, that the decree is final and that the signer had statutory authority. Without supplemental proof like a court certification or relevant statutory citations, USCIS may consider the evidence insufficient and issue an RFE. To overcome an RFE, submit a layered response. First, secure an official certification or affidavit from the issuing court clerk explicitly confirming the decree's finality and the signer's authority under state law. Second, include certified copies of the relevant statutes or rules that delegate authority for uncontested divorces. Third, add official court guides or procedural manuals that describe the role of special referees or magistrates and confirm the legal effect of their signatures. Fourth, draft a cover letter that maps each exhibit to the RFE's concerns about finality and authority. Fifth, include ancillary proof like a docket sheet or notice of entry to reinforce finality. Finally, verify that all documents are certified, legible, and internally consistent to avoid further delays. Here is a practical checklist. Include an official court certification or affidavit confirming finality and the signer's authority. Add certified statutory or rule excerpts proving delegation of authority. Include official court guides that explain the roles of non-judge officers. Attach a certified copy of the decree itself and, if available, a notice of entry or docket printout. Finally, organize everything with a clear cover letter and exhibit index, cross-referencing each item to the specific RFE concerns. This mind map organizes the evidence into 5 clusters. First, the court certification or affidavits, which should explicitly state finality and the signer's legal authority and bear appropriate seals. Second, statutory authority, meaning certified copies of the state statute or court rule that delegates power. Third, court guides, including official manuals or self-help guides from the judiciary that explain standard practice. Fourth, supporting records such as a docket sheet or notice of entry to reinforce finality. Fifth, assembly steps, including a cover letter and exhibit index that cross-reference each document to the RFE's concerns. This structure ensures clarity and completeness. To obtain a court certification, locate the records or clerk's office, often listed on the court's website. Request a clerk certification or affidavit that references your case number and explicitly states that the decree is final and that the signer was authorized to issue the final judgment. Ask about fees, processing time, and whether they can include a seal or embossing. Confirm the court's mailing address and any special envelope requirements. Keep copies of all correspondence and receipts for your records. On the left are features of a strong response: a clear clerk certification with explicit statements, certified statutory excerpts, official court guides, supporting records like a docket sheet, and a well-organized cover letter. On the right are weaknesses that trigger delays: resubmitting the same decree without context, providing uncertified or unofficial statute copies, failing to prove the signer's authority, disorganized exhibits, and inconsistent or illegible documentation. This timeline depicts a practical cadence. Immediately upon receiving the RFE, contact the court clerk and request the certification. Over the next 2 to 3 weeks, obtain the certification, certified statutes or rules, and official guides. In weeks 3 to 4, draft your cover letter and assemble exhibits. Aim to finalize and mail the response by day 30 to 45, leaving buffer time before the deadline. Then, expect USCIS to acknowledge receipt and adjudicate within a range that can vary by workload and case type. Quiz question 1. Which single document most directly addresses both finality and signer authority in this scenario? Option A, a notarized personal statement. Option B, a court clerk's certification or affidavit. Option C, a news article explaining local court practices. Option D, an uncertified copy of the state statute. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is B. A court clerk's certification or affidavit is the authoritative document that can explicitly confirm both finality and the signer's authority under state law, directly addressing core RFE concerns. Quiz question 2. Which response approach is most likely to fail? Option A, resubmitting the same decree with no new evidence. Option B, adding certified statute excerpts and a clerk's certification. Option C, including an official court procedural guide. Option D, organizing exhibits with a labeled index. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is A. Resubmitting the same decree alone does not address the federal adjudicator's concerns. A layered response is necessary to prove finality and authority. Remember, this is about clarity and completeness of evidence rather than the legality of state procedures. Use a layered approach anchored by a court clerk certification, certified statutes or rules, and official court guides. Strengthen the response with supporting records, and present everything in a well-organized package with clear cross-references. To conclude, you now understand why these RFEs happen and how to build a layered, certified evidence package that addresses finality and authority. Follow the suggested timeline and checklist, and present a professional, organized response to minimize delays. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, please like the video, share it with others who might benefit, and subscribe for more guides. Tell us in the comments about your biggest RFE challenge and what topics you want us to cover next.